Welcome friends. Thank you for joining us. This is the Paranormal News Network. And now it's time for another story of paranormal interest. Today's story is entitled,
Still skeptical. I never believed in ghosts. I thought it was all just superstition and people's overactive imaginations. But one night, something happened that made me question everything I thought I knew. It was a warm summer night, and I was staying at my friend's house. She lived in an old Victorian mansion that had been passed down through her family for generations. The house was beautiful, with ornate decorations and antique furniture. But it also had a reputation for being haunted. My friend had told me stories of strange noises, doors opening and closing on their own, and apparitions appearing in the hallways. But I brushed it off as her trying to scare me. That was until I had my own encounter. I was lying in bed, trying to fall asleep, when I heard a faint whisper. It was as if someone was calling my name, but the voice was barely audible. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but then I heard it again, louder this time. I sat up in bed and looked around the room, but there was no one there. I told myself that it was just the house settling or the wind blowing through the trees outside. But then I felt a cold breeze on my face, even though the windows were closed. And that's when I saw it. It was a black figure like a hole in space standing at the foot of my bed. It seemed to be moving slightly as if it was breathing. It didn't say anything, but I felt like it was watching me. But then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, the ghost disappeared. I was left alone in the room, shaken but unharmed. The next morning, I told my friend what had happened. She seemed almost giddy with delight and told me that many guests had reported similar experiences in the house over the years. But as time passed, I began to doubt what I had seen. The more I think about it, that memory feels like a dream. Maybe it was just a hallucination brought on by stress or lack of sleep. Maybe my friend had planted the idea in my head, and I had let my imagination run wild. Why didn't she hear me yelling in the middle of the night? She was just in the next room after all. Whatever the reason, I came to the conclusion that ghosts simply don't exist. There was no scientific evidence to support their existence, and no rational explanation for what I had experienced. Years later, I still think back to that night in the Victorian mansion. It was a frightening experience, but it also taught me the power of the human mind to create its own reality. The mind can play tricks on us, and sometimes we see what we want to see, even if it's not really there. That's why I don't believe in ghosts. I think they are nothing more than figments of our imaginations, created by our fears and anxieties. And while I may never know for sure what really happened that night, I do know that I will always be skeptical of the supernatural.
well, that was very unusual. In any event, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us again today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and most especially, please share your stories of paranormal interest in the comment section. Your story may be featured on a future episode. Since most submissions are made anonymously, please assume all content is for entertainment purposes only. Any resemblance to persons living or dead should be considered coincidental. And the dead should not be disturbed for any reason.